Hello and welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV. Today I have another gun store vlog where we're going to be talking about where we go from here with supply, given everything that's going on politically right now in this country. Anyway, if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. That's coming up now. Okay, so we are pretty deep into the determination of what is going on with who is going to fill the seat in the presidency. I know right now it is very political, it's very politically charged, and there are two camps here. There's the media and everything that's claiming Biden has won. It's irreversible at this point. He's got too far of a lead, and he's pretty much all but just been sworn in at this point. There's the other camp that's saying, hold on, we need to wait for the outcome of the lawsuits that have been filed by the Trump camp on terms of illegitimate and fraudulent voting. So of course it's likely going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and we probably won't really know the true outcome of what is going to happen until probably within January. It's probably where we will know definitively with 100% certainty either Biden has won or Trump is going to continue on with another 4 years. Now, despite whichever camp you fall into, of course, there is the realism of what is going on inside the marketplace when it comes to firearms and ammunition. So that's kind of really what I'm going to focus on. Leading into the election and even post-election, undoubtedly demand has gotten quite a bit higher. Okay, it happens every single 4 years, even back in 2008 and then in 2012 and then again in 2016. Purchasing leading into the election was always very strong. Okay, so there's always a candidate that runs on an anti-gun platform. Typically it's the Democrats, and because of that there is a little bit of fear that if the Democratic candidate is to win, there is going to be uncertain doom and demise within the gun community in terms of further legislation or repression of the ownership of certain items within the firearms retail space, and those items tend to kind of fly off the shelves leading into the election. Now, with the outcome, a lot of people are basically saying because of the results being called for Joe Biden, a lot of people are pretty much conceding and saying, okay, looks like Joe Biden is going to be the next president in 2020 or 2021 technically. So because of that, people are already starting to build up fear about certain things being removed from the market, being banned, having to be turned in, all that sort of stuff. Joe Biden did have a very comprehensive gun plan. I actually did an 1.5 hour long video on that. You can find it over on Marksman Radio, and I will post a link to that in the description if you want to go take a look at what that is. Now, another prediction that I had in the past was that I thought that manufacturers were going to be basically doing two things here in the marketplace. Number one is they were going to increase their working shifts within the current, employee structure that they had within the certain plant space that they had. And then, they were going to try and squeeze that capacity to the max to meet all the demand that we have seen since going back to March when COVID really took off and became a big thing in our lives. I did not think that they were going to do things like increase personnel dramatically, increase floor space or manufacturing capacity, increase machinery until they knew the outcome of the election. Now, whether or not the outcome is solidified enough for manufacturers to start making those investments, I don't know. But I predict that if in 2021 in January, if Joe Biden is sworn in as the new president going forward, I predict that that is when a lot of the manufacturers are going to take a shift into increasing their capacity for production to get more things into the market. Undoubtedly, supply is tremendously low right now. So there's really only two ways that we can get supply and demand to equal out one another, and one is to raise the prices, two is to increase the supply. Now, I have not seen from the manufacturing level a change either way. So supply has been really bad, obviously not anywhere near meeting the demand. And also from a wholesaler level, my pricing has been pretty stagnant. It's gone up maybe a little bit, 2 to 3%. But all of the insane price hikes you're seeing, double, triple prices on ammo and guns, that's honestly all being done at the retail level. So those retailers are pretty much getting all that supply at about the same wholesale price that they were paying back a year ago. Again, it's gone up a little bit, but it hasn't gone up anywhere near towards the price points that you're seeing right now online and in most gun stores. For example, when I get a 9mm ammo, and it's not very frequently, I am still able to sell it at about $15 a box. So my cost has gone up $1 or $2, but it hasn't gone up $10, $20. So again, all of that you're seeing is on the retail level. Now, despite all those price hikes that you're seeing on online stores and in-store retailers, it still seems that they are having not a super hard time moving that product and supply definitely does seem to stay pretty low. So to quickly recap, if Biden is sworn in January, I do see manufacturers likely boosting up on their production, getting their capacity up, and then getting more stuff into the market. We've seen this time and time again back in the Obama era, and even pre-Trump 2016, the supply of everything was so high, even to a point where it was exceeding Obama era demand, that when the election happened and demand subsequently fell way off by about a third, lots of gun stores, including myself, were left holding the bag on a lot of things like 5.56 ammo, 9 ammo, and AR-15s. So total reversal of what we are seeing now. I think manufacturers are being a little bit careful to not end up in that same sort of position again with an overstretched supply chain, and there isn't subsequent demand for it. So they're probably hedging their bets, just waiting for a really clear picture that demand is going to be strong moving forward before they move into that. But again, I don't have any proof on that. That's just my hunch. Now let's talk about the politics a little bit. I try not to get into politics, but I think this is a nice sort of crossroad to be able to kind of talk a little bit about what I think is going to happen with gun control moving forward. Now this is of course on the assumption that Biden will take the presidency in 2021. What will that look like? Okay, first, we definitely know that there is a very strong gun plan on the table. Now, whether or not any of those things will come to fruition is yet to be determined. Now, what we also know is that it is as likely, if we're saying it's likely Biden's going to win at this point, we can also say it's likely there's going to be a Republican Senate run by Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. If that is to happen, I do see a lot of stonewalling coming in with a lot of gun measures. Now, a lot of people made the argument, well, there's a lot of conservative rhinos in the Senate. They could flip on any of these issues. They might only have a 2 or 3 seat lead for a majority vote on any type of gun control. That's very true. But we can look back to 8 years of President Obama, including 2 years where he had a full Congress, and actually, and this is an honest statement, more gun control has actually happened in the past 4 years under President Trump than actually happened in all 8 years of Obama. And that's not to say that Obama was pro-gun. It just meant that every single thing he tried to do got stonewalled. I think when it comes down to that, it's not really a matter of, Republican or Democratic senators being for or against certain issues. I just think that in the political divide, the polarity that we are seeing in our society, especially today, the huge sort of drawing apart of both parties, that as a Republican, you don't want to be seen siding with any type of Democratic measure, no matter what it is, healthcare, gun control, environment, because that is likely to cost you your re-election when your seat comes up for election again. Now, as it goes with supply over the next 4 years, anytime that there is a shooting or any type of event like that, a mass murder involving a firearm, we can expect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to likely get up in grandstands, start beating the war drum on gun control measures, which will of course give people a lot of angst and get them back out to gun stores buying guns and ammo. Again, we saw that time and time again in the 8 years under Obama. Now, getting back into the predictions on if Joe Biden is to actually be the president moving into 2021, now again, it goes without saying that in periods of a little bit of uneasiness about whether gun control is going to take place, the demand is going to be higher. Now, not only is there a change in, I think there's going to be a boosting up of the supply, of the production, the capacity that's going to take place. There's also been a fundamental shift that I have seen over the past 4 years that's especially become very prominent over the past year, and that is a changing in the way that firearms are distributed. So typically, a lot of firearms have been sold out to wholesalers. Those have then made their way out to small independent gun stores. Some of those independent gun stores have grown into very prominent online businesses. We see this with Buzz Gun Shop, Palmetto, and then the older legacy online stores like Sportsman's Outdoor Superstore and Grab a Gun, Cheaper Than Dirt. Of course, they are just consolidating a lot more in terms of their market share. And even though I'm standing in an empty store, not able to get ARs and Glocks and SIG P365s, I still get them transferred in from the big online dealers all the time. What that basically means is we're surviving on things like used gun collections, which fortunately I do get a lot of. I'm very lucky in that regard. A lot of people give me used guns. You guys see those in the weekly used gun review videos. The other thing is transfers. So what you are likely, again, probably going to see that if manufacturers can't get out enough to get to the wholesalers and everything starts sort of shifting to a more online retail model, even manufacturers themselves are starting their own online retail outlets. We saw that with Federal Brand and CCI happening over the past year as well. If that starts to happen, there is one sort of cornerstone in the supply chain that they can't get around, and that is the transfer fee. So what you will probably start seeing over the next several years is small gun stores like mine leveraging their gun store fees to get a little bit more revenue off of the firearms that they are not able to stock. Now, a new firearm, the margin on something like that in most cases, like a Glock, is really only around 40 or 50 bucks. So if your transfer fee becomes a standard 40 or 50 dollars everywhere, the gun stores then start getting the margin that they were used to getting on selling those guns without having to stock them. Now, I've spoken about this in the consolidation of a fragmented industry video. Is that if we might see a pushing towards trying to create a way to do remote background checks through like digital software at home and things like that. If big online retailers figure out how to do that, and a lot of them actually have with like things like 4&4 with suppressors. You saw a silencer code in their kiosks. So, I mean, things like that have already started in the works. That would then cut out the transfer fee process, which would be really bad for a lot of small gun stores. That's just a prediction. I'm sort of formulating how things might be sort of changing and evolving due to the potential possible outcome of this election. What does that mean for you guys as consumers going forward? I think we're going to see a lot of mirroring of what we saw back in the Obama era. That's where you're going to have small, sporadic portions of hopefully a good amount of supply, both in guns and in ammo, but with elevated pricing. I mean, you guys remember when Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sports were routinely $600-700 under Obama, and then after Trump was elected, you saw them on sale sometimes for like $499. So I think those sort of blowout sales and stuff like that, rebates that a lot of the manufacturers have been running over the past 4 years, I think all of that's pretty much gone. And if you're going to want stuff, you're going to have to pay for it. Used market wise, I think there's also going to be a shift there. We saw a lot of used guns come onto the market over the past 4 years because people tend to relax and let go of things like their AR-15 or their Glock because they know they could go back to the store and get another one at any time if they miss it. I think people are going to be a lot more leery about getting rid of their used firearms in the off chance that they are not really likely to get it back. Now, on the flip side of this, a lot of the increase in demand over the past year has been as a result of social unrest, the virus, rioting, things like that. I think going forward, this is kind of the positive side. If you want to say, there's a positive side if Joe Biden takes over, is I think the virus will probably likely get under control pretty soon. It was like yesterday, one of the big companies came out and announced they had a vaccine with a 90% effective rate in reducing or something about reducing transmission or reducing the effectiveness of COVID, something like that. I need to look into that a little bit more. Also, we've seen nothing but partying and dancing in the streets without masks, but not any rioting or looting. So the people that have been worried about that sort of thing, like the social unrest aspect, I think that's going to start calming down, and any of those buyers that were motivated by those sorts of events, I think are going to stop flocking to the gun stores. But in their place, it's going to be the gun guys, the people in the gun community that want to get the stuff that they have been unable to find over the past year or want to be able to get before it's potentially banned. Okay. Anyway, those are basically my thoughts on what's going to happen. A lot of people have been asking both online and in the store, so I just wanted to give you guys a brief video on that. If you enjoyed, please let me know by hitting that like button, and if you want to see more content like this, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV, and I will see you next time.